What is going on, everyone? Welcome to an episode of the FiveMarks Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Martin115, joined by my darling partner in whatever this is.
I don't know, action. Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Cameron. Welcome back for another week.
And it is a blast from the past episode because, a year and a half has gone by. This guy has gone, God knows, fucking everywhere. We're back. He is back. Cian Noonan is on the podcast.
Let's go. Thank you
Thank
for
you
having me. Thank you for having me.
We'll tell Will to put in some pyro, the whole
Yeah.
Noonan,
Let's get everything going.
Noonan.
Let's get everything going. Promo packages, the whole lot.
Fucking saliva always just in the background as well. First off, as I said there, a year and a half, I give or take, since the last time we've had you on. Been busy?
Yeah, keeping busy, fortunately. Keeping busy.
I mean, you have been absolutely everywhere, especially after we had you going into after Hard Knox at that point with the three-way. You were going over, I believe, to Spain, if I'm correct, or was it Portugal? It was one or the other.
By that point, I think it would have been Belgium.
Was Belgium?
Yeah, I
know it
believe
was
so.
over with CJ West and stuff at the time.
Oh, wow. So that was already happening by that point. Yeah, that was Spain. Yeah. That was months away from that, but yeah, that was it. Oh
From
my
there,
God, yeah.
you've been to fucking absolutely, not everywhere, but you've been traveling, keeping yourself fucking busy, and obviously we're gonna get into all that and everything, over the next hour or so.
Yeah.
First, before we do that, Carmel, is there any way you want to start this type of episode? I always start them. I want to give it to you for once.
I was kind of going to go through the year. I know you have a couple of questions from, we'll say, when we last did the interview as well. So I was going to start with Hard Knox because I think that's where we've really seen a big push from yourself. And the first show I had was Hard Luck Volume 1 against Joey Scott.
Oh, yeah.
I think the match itself was absolutely fantastic, and I think everyone knew just how good you were. But I think coming out of that match, everyone just thought you were absolutely fantastic. I could see the talent that you had. But from that match and yourself, how did you feel, I suppose, with that match and I suppose coming out of that match?
I think it's hard to kind of think back now because how long ago it was, what I was feeling at that time. And honestly, it wasn't that long ago, but it feels like a long time as kind of the last year and a bit has played out. But I remember at the time being delighted with it, and still currently am delighted with it. I've had the chance because that match, Joey Scott brought me over to his promotion. He runs a promotion in Birmingham called Wolfhorse. I've worked there once before as well, and he's a complete delight to work with. A really nice lad. So I was happy I got the opportunity to work with him, and I hope that I get to. The last series on Hard Knox, I think, was that Collision show, and I wasn't around for that. I think it was the same day as Contenders, where I wrestled James Ellis, if I'm thinking of the right Contenders.
Yeah. 100%.
So he was down for that, but I didn't get the chance to see him, obviously. Hopefully get to see him again soon, or if I get back to Birmingham soon, hope to see him there. But complete delight to work with, and a very, very fun match, to be honest, looking back on it. Didn't win, but what can you do, you know? But a lot of fun.
Can't win them all, but is that something that you'd love to do again? We'll say, especially in Hard Knocks, because I know that I think was like your third or second match in Hard Knocks, and I feel like that, as Carmel said, we all knew you were good. We saw it the first time with the triple threat match, but I feel like the Joey Scott match was just, it cemented that people had to have eyes on you, especially in Hard Knocks.
I'd love to do it again. As long as it's not, because he's hardcore champ currently. I'm not fucking with that. To be honest, I'm not gonna do any light cheers or anything like this. Not my thing. But I'll leave that to him. But I would love to work with him again. Definitely. Whether it's here or over in Birmingham, he's just honestly a really good guy. To be honest with you, I think he wrestled Steve last time, which I haven't seen it, but I'm not one for light tubes or barbed wire in my matches, in case you haven't noticed. So, but glad if we got to do something similar to last time. I'd like to think that it's a bit more of an even playing field now. I think I've stepped up a good bit since then. So I would hope they could kind of show out a bit more and get the win this time,
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I want to kind of stay going through Hard Knocks because then I
Yeah.
want to kind of get into OTT and stuff like that afterwards. But the next one that I had on my list anyway was Celebrations against the Bull CVL. Slightly peeling back the curtain. That was a last minute kind of plan, from what I gather. But to step into the ring with CBL, who like I think he's close to a year as Irish Junior Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah.
What was that like?
That's easily one of my favorite matches I've had. We were only having this discussion in the car home from the last Hard Knox. There was myself, Colin from Irish Wrestling Entertainment, LJ Cleary, Matthew Bullet Smith, and Kerry Thatcher. And we were discussing in the car about kind of our favorite matches and stuff. And I put that on my list, but I think there's a lot that goes into it. So as you said, like I'll explain this kind of quickly enough. What happened was I was wrestling in Belgium that weekend. I think that weekend I was wrestling. That was October, so I was wrestling Kuro in a singles match, which was a lot of fun too. But I was I remember I was on the flight and I was exhausted. I usually stay in the house of one of the wrestlers over there. Her name's Jungle Jill, so I stay in her house and we're taking down like the stuff from the show, making sure the ring gets back and getting food and all. We didn't get back to her house till roughly about 2 a.m. I had to get up my flight at 5. So I was exhausted. I remember like getting onto the plane and thinking to myself, I'm not wrestling on Hard Knocks. I feel really shit right now. So I think I'm just gonna go home when I get off this plane. I hadn't sort of lived there anything to Hard Knocks at the time. And I was sitting on the plane waiting for it to take off, and I get a call from Steve, and Steve is Steve Savage, that is, has never rang me before in any circumstance. So I was a bit like, wow, what the hell is this about? So I answer it, and he goes, hey, Cian, I'm stuck in Birmingham. Yeah, was flying in from the UK for that show, and asked could I take his place in the match, which, funnily enough, for that match, if I remember correctly, right, I think it was supposed to be
Steve versus Khan.
Yeah. And then it became Steve versus CBL. So it changed already once, and then it changed from CBL to me. So it literally got to a completely different match from the original. But I was like, yeah, no problem. I immediately hung up, text one of the lads, like, please collect me from the airport, please collect me from the airport. And when I landed, fortunately, they'd seen it and came to collect me from the airport. So I went straight to the show then on a 2 hour sleep and wrestled then against CBL. I think I honestly do my best when I feel I'm under pressure. My brain is saying, like, I can't let people know that I was just on 2 hours sleep. I can't let people know that I'm tired. So I really need to kind of overdo myself. And I find that's what happened with that match. Me and CBL really clicked that night. I think that, like, going from not knowing and having a match to all of a sudden having this spontaneous match, and in my opinion, I like uphill battles when I'm wrestling, and I felt that was a real uphill battle, and to get the win was fantastic. But yeah, that, like, I think more that's one of my favorite matches because we clicked pretty well, but also the story that goes into it of like traveling from Belgium directly to Limerick just have that match is madness to me. Like landing in Dublin, going straight to Limerick from the airport is mad, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's one of those things that we've seen it in Hard Knocks a couple of times where unfortunately the card is subject to change. But it's one of those matches where yourself and CBL, I think everybody wanted to see it. And then the fact that we just got it out of the blue at a Hard Knocks show kind of just made it even better.
I wish I had it on video. So that Hard Knocks documentary has the like bits in the match in it. And I remember when I watched it, I was even more delighted with how it came back to me. So I would really love to see it, but I haven't had access to footage of it. But I know it was recorded for that documentary, obviously. So there's footage of it somewhere. But I hope it eventually gets released because I really enjoyed that match. Definitely one of my favourites.
100%. But look, we head into Unmatched then, and I think in possibly one of the biggest matches of your career to date. You went up against the returning Terry Thatcher. Still Hard Knox champion at the time. I think he came up with the belt. A really hard-hitting battle as well between the two of you, but like, I suppose, tell us about that.
I took it kind of as an honour, to be honest, because in my opinion, and I'll preach it all the time, I think he is one of, if not the best wrestler in Ireland. And I got to wrestle him in my second match, and that was my 52nd match. So there was a big enough gap there between the two. And I remember like thinking to myself at the time, like, this is crazy that this person who like I preach so much about how much I love how he wrestles and his work ethic and his work rate and his attitude towards wrestling. And I got to have a match with him that at the time I was still like quite shit. Even now, I don't think I'm amazing, but back then I was quite shit. And he really pulled me up to a new level and made me come out of my shell a lot more and made me feel a lot more confident. So getting the chance to wrestle him then again meant a lot to me, especially as his first match back. And I'd like to think we had a good match too. Again, another match where I haven't really had access to see him, but I loved it as well. Like honestly, I just have positive things to say about Hard Knocks and getting to work at Hard Knocks.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I got to throw in that question there as well because, like, Terry is a big name in Hard Knocks as well. He was the first ever world champion, and the crowd are always behind him. And we've seen that gradual of that crowd coming behind you with every Hard Knock show. And even on that match, the crowd was very 50-50 between yourself and Terry. What's it like, I suppose, having that Hard Knocks crowd behind you?
I've loved it. I remember. I have to think when this was now. I
think this was a match with September.
Not this one specifically, but like to go about like the Hard Knocks crowd. There was a point where I can't think what match it is now off the top of my head. It might come back to me. But as a wrestler, you're always trying to engage the crowd. And I find it very hard to do, even now, because I'm still quite new. It's quite a hard thing for me to do. And I remember I wrestled a match in Hard Knocks. Maybe it was even the first one I had, the triple threat. And I remember thinking to myself when I went up to do, I think it was probably the first one. It was probably the first time I had that spiral tap. I missed it once or twice too, unfortunately. But when I went up to hit it for the first time, I remember by the point I'd got there, I could feel the fans were behind me. And it's such a rush of a feeling, especially I find for that crowd because I really love the Hard Knocks crowd. Like, I love going out to Limerick. It's one of my favourite places to wrestle. Like anywhere. I've had the force wrestling a few times instead of Ireland now. Very few, but definitely one of my favourite places to wrestle. So to get any kind of reaction, and then I feel over time the kind of more familiar they get. I remember like as well when I wrestled CBL, it was the first time anyone had ever reacted to my music. That as wrestlers, like we have to kind of reintroduce ourselves to people every time because it's not going to be the exact same crowd as the previous time. And I remember in my match at CBL when my music came on, I heard the crowd react like they cheered when they heard the music start and seen the video. And to me, that was like a huge deal. Like, so I was like, oh my God, they knew who I was. Maybe it was 10 people, but those 10 people knew who I was and that made my day, So I feel like over time it's been more gradual. But definitely not like the level of like everyone in the country knows me, not at all. But to have even 20 or 30 people in Hard Knocks know who I am when I come out, it makes me feel quite good, I like to think I'm starting to win the crowd over more.
Absolutely, 100%. We head into a war zone where you go up against a man that you know fairly well in Con Kelly.
Oh.
Where he had Luke Frehel by his side, which
the bastard.
Which made it a little bit tougher on you, but you still come out with the victory on that. But what's it like stepping in the ring with Con Kelly?
I remember, like, just as a quick hop back, when I first started training, it was probably pretty soon after that. I had seen Con wrestling while we were in training. I'm thinking to myself, like, that lad is fucking great. Like, he wrestles like a Chris Benoit or a Dynamite Kid. And funnily enough, like, he's a fan of those styles of wrestling. But, like, to me, I remember thinking, like, oh, that's really cool. And then as I started to wrestle more, I enjoy wrestling people of that style. People who are fast when they wrestle, but they're quite rough. I think it gives good competition. And he fits that style perfectly. It was really, really enjoyable. And that was my first time ever working with him. And from what I can think, I don't know if we worked with each other since. Maybe we have, and I apologize if I can't remember. But that was a really fun match. He's Mad Dog is the perfect description. And keep your eyes on Frel as well. Frel's just waiting to blow up now. But
huge there.
He was a thorn on my side for that match, but I'll forgive him if needs be. But I do think he's going to blow up soon. So keep an eye on that lad as well.
Yeah, I have a question about Frehel there in a couple of minutes as well. But look, the last Hard Knocks match that we're going to get into, and I know Martin will probably have a couple of things to say on this one as well. Hard Luck Volume 2, where he went up against the Snake Sammy D for the Hard Knocks World Championship. I suppose, before we even get into the match, what was your reaction to finding out about the announcement of that?
I try not to peel back the curtain too much on stuff, but I got told about a bit in advance. I'd say about a week before the announcement went out. And it's one of those things where, as you say, cards always subject to change. So because I'm told doesn't essentially mean it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I remember like essentially biting my lip and only telling one or two people like this is what's going to happen. It's going to happen. And being really excited about it because if it gets announced and it doesn't happen, I feel like a dickhead. You know what I mean? So I was sitting waiting for it. And finally got announced. And I was like, this is crazy. I was like, and again, like the world title match doesn't always main event the card. I believe the world title match should always main event the card. There's obviously certain circumstances like if Judgment Day are coming to Dublin for OTT, then maybe the World Title shouldn't. Yeah. So I think there's always circumstances, but in my opinion, if like there's not a blood feud on the card and not a bigger title, then that should be really your main event, you know. And I was absolutely like delighted that I was going to get a match of that caliber. That was my second ever main event. I think the first was an NLW for when they're crowned the Cruiserweight champion, but this was like my first main event, and it was for a world championship, and I've had very few world championship matches at the start. I'm lucky to have had any of this quickly, and it was in front of an adult crowd that were white hot for it, which is great. I think that's a fantastic representation of all the work I put into wrestling in the last year and a half. That match, maybe it's even more. I think I'm over 2 years wrestling now. I think, and that's a perfect representation of when I put hard work into something, I'm happy with the result that came out. And I think I speak for a lot of wrestlers when we're not essentially happy with what we do. Like we can wrestle and wrestle and wrestle, and there's very few times you feel satisfied. And I'll never say I'm quite fully satisfied, but to be happy about your match is kind of a good feeling. And on the day, I was happy. And then I've only seen a few clips back because again, I'm still waiting on this to get released, but just overwhelmingly happy with what I'd seen. So I would be delighted to have it back. I think it's a great match to kind of put into my wrestling portfolio and be able to show people like this is something that I was able to do. And maybe those people don't really know what Hard Knox is, but the quality of the match I think speaks for itself. I think Sammy D, like as he said, he's the snake. You can't deny though he's a fantastic wrestler.
I just want to say on that match that as a fan watching it and someone being there in the crowd enjoying it, from what I can remember, it was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, we like for a while. I used to say you're the underdog in Hard Knocks because we've literally watched yourself go from the kind of guy just thrown into something to getting Joey Scott and almost becoming like an import killer for a little bit there in Hard Knocks. You know, you had Joey Scott. I can't remember who came in after fucking Joey. Do you remember who came in after Joey Carmo?
No,
I remember you used to call you that anyways because they were coming in and you were getting the matches. I remember as well when Jordan Oliver came over, there was a lot of
there was a big
debate that it should have been you, but the Sam match was just off the chart. It was kind of like it needed to happen, kind of the cherry on top that we needed to cement you in Hard Knocks because there was many times the fans we thought that's you're going over. You know, there was many moments in the crowd, any time was near fall, just thrown back to, you know? So, that match, honest to God, that's one I feel like, please, Hard Knocks, whoever's in charge, Young Gaff, whoever has the footage, put it out. That match was fucking brilliant.
Thank you. I'm really humbled hearing people say that, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Is there any more Hard Knocks that you want to talk about, Carmel?
That's it for Hard Knocks for the moment.
So I'm gonna throw us back. We're gonna like this. This is what people hate what we do when Carmel talks about nowadays, and I throw back. There's a man in Hard Knocks, kind of annoys me. Go by the name of Gallicini. Listening back to the first time we had you on, I was wondering, is there any chance that the Cian connection could ever make a return in Irish wrestling?
I would love to see it. Me and Cian are still very close friends. And actually, funnily enough, that recently I was at training and we were doing some tag training and we were able to reconnect the Cian connection for that one training session, which was class. But I'd love to work with him again in future. Maybe have the opportunity, especially like on Hard Knocks. I know Hard Knocks do a lot of pub shows as well. I've been eager to work with Cian again, and also I don't know, you probably know him, Monty. He's one of the younger
Yeah,
lads.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite high on Monty as well, so I love the chance to work with Monty too. But I'd be pretty happy if the Cian connection were able to reform, even though we have a total of 0 wins right now. But maybe we're a bit more experienced, and we're not going to pick fights with Steve Savage or the Kings of the North, which is probably a good step to take.
Yeah.
Try and keep it to Cians this time as well. I know there was two Cians in there that weren't called Cian at all.
Yeah, Magic, Cian Kelly, and Cian Mercer and Cian Grayson. They're all cousins of ours.
All long distant cousins. Nowhere to be seen at the moment. And Francis Mercer, it's a completely different guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I want to talk about most of the last year and a half. I mentioned earlier on you've been doing a lot of traveling around the place. We'll say you're about 2 years into your career at the moment. That is surreal to hear coming from someone who's still relatively, young in the business.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to be honest. The idea of like anywhere flying me out to wrestle for them, and like that's like a dream come true. Everyone's a small goal. It's a pretty major fucking goal to me that it's happened, and it keeps continuing to grow. Like this month I have FWF in Belgium on the 21st, and I'm wrestling for the FWF Flemish Championship against Homeless Tom. This will be my 3rd time trying to go after that championship. I came very, very close the first time. There's another lad in the match who wrestled a little bit in Ireland a while ago in Titanic and Fight Factory, and maybe RCW. His name's Thibaut Hendricks. Yeah. I think he's fantastic. Like, one of the best wrestlers I've seen in mainland Europe, and I think he's about to have his kind of big blowout spot. Like I think right now, like blowing up Kuro, Mecca, Thibaut, as well as Josiah. They're lads who are really kind of popping off right now. So I can't praise him enough. But I pinned him, eliminated him from the match, and nearly had Tom and lost. And last time a similar circumstance, so this is my kind of last chance to win that championship. So that'll be another fun one. And then the following week, I fly back into Belgium to travel over the border to France, and I'm wrestling for Banger Zone, which currently seems to be one of the biggest companies in Europe. So, like, to me, it was a real moment of like this, in my eyes, the same level as if I got the chance to do a Progress or a Rev Pro or somewhere like this. To me, this is major. So the fact I've managed to get there has really been surreal. As I say, cards are subject to change. In my head, it's like, it's not happening until I get to that venue and can successfully make my entrance. The match isn't going to happen. Yeah. So I'm delighted to have even that idea have come up, or that fantasy that I'm going to get the chance to work for Banger Zone, a company where like I've literally dreamed of working for since I heard about them about 2 years ago, when it kind of came back from COVID, But it's a real dream to work from. I got to work in APC in France, and they have one of, if not the hottest crowds I've ever wrestled in front of, like a stadium level crowd for every show with like how hot they are and the energy. It was like a dopamine rush of a match, like to have that kind of adrenaline come at you the whole time. And apparently Banger Zone is like that on steroids. So I can't even imagine the kind of atmosphere it's going to be like. Their last show got about 1,100 people. So this one now, I don't know if it's as big the venue, but I'm very excited to see how it goes,
And I want to talk about the Banger Zone match, because it is a triple threat match. Yourself, Von Vertigo, and Ricky Sosa.
Yeah.
An absolute banger put together. Now, I haven't seen much of Ricky. I do need to check out but obviously I know Von Vertigo. We've seen him in OTT. He's all over TikTok. A massive name that you're going up against.
Yeah, like Ricky Sosa, I've seen making the rounds right now across like France and Belgium. And I haven't had the chance to even be on a show with him, so I've never met him before. But seems pretty sick. Like, seems like a wrestler that I would quite enjoy to wrestle, and I think our styles will match up well. Von Vertigo obviously is a much bigger name. Like, this is my first time wrestling someone from Canada or North America, so that's pretty cool as well. That might open a door there if I'm lucky. But it's pretty cool to get to work with someone who's kind of making the rounds. He seems like a nice guy as well, so that obviously helps. But both the lads better be ready, because I'm coming. Like, this is going to be my spot too.
Now, like, with all this traveling around, like, I know earlier on you were talking about how you still feel like you're not at a good level yet, but like, what do you kind of count that to? Because like you are, we'll praise you to the, the fucking cows come home, because you are absolutely brilliant in the ring. I think every promotion should be looking at people like you, the Sam, Josh, Jay, all you guys should be fucking traveling around the place, and you're getting the opportunity to just go from company to company to company. What do you kind of put that down to?
I think I'm only going to get better. I think that like everything is a growing process, and I'm not. It's not that like I'm unhappy how I wrestle. I'm actually quite happy, but I think that I could be better. But I haven't quite figured out how to get to that next level yet, and I think it all comes with time. So I think just with time, I'm just going to get that bit better. I think every match definitely helps. Like the most important part of wrestling is trying to have matches, because that's the only way you're going to get good. If fans aren't paying to come and watch us train, so we're no way we're going to get to a level of how we are in front of a crowd without the crowd. So I think every single match definitely helps. It's just a matter of keep getting more matches, and my experience will just get better and better.
100%. Carmel, do you want to throw in a few questions there?
Yeah, I was going to talk about a similar topic that you just talked about. So as you've kind of mentioned, France, Belgium, Spain, England. I know you've competed in Scotland as well.
Yeah.
Is there any other country, I suppose, maybe bar America at the moment, that you would like to wrestle in?
Yeah, short term, I'd love to go to wrestle for Body Slammers in Finland. These lads are also popping off at the moment and like working crazy style. Like they're selling out really big crowds. Primetime Wrestling in Poland is another one on the list. PTW, they sell out quite big crowds as well. They seem to get a good name for themselves. Obviously, everyone wants to work your WXWs and GFWs in Germany, or to get the chance to go over to Progress or RevPro would be really the dream. I think that's where you're going to really get some major spotlight on you. But as of now, kind of everything's always short-term goals. Squash a jobber in Italy, SAJ. They're also seem to kind of get some good names over there. So I'd like to get the opportunity to work there too. But I think everything's with growth as well. I'm hoping that I've seen people say online that the Banger Zone match could be a real kind of a catalyst to help me start getting some bigger exposure. But if not, it's an amazing opportunity to go there. Like I really can't stress it enough. It's a dream for me in this short span of time to be able to get on shows. Like if you had told me from like my first day of training, I've done anything that I've done now, I would be completely dumbfounded. So to have say a match, something like on OTT, and get that opportunity was huge, and then get the rest outside of Ireland is huge, and now getting brought back outside of Ireland is huge, and getting to bigger companies is huge. So it's almost overwhelming. It's just amazing.
I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second. I'll come back to Ireland in a minute. Have you, let's say, 3 names in Europe, not in Ireland, outside of Ireland, that you would like to face?
So it's a tough one, and it's going to change all the time. I think 2 that just immediately came to mind are Leon Slayer, which like that's the kind of number 1 on my list at the moment. Desire also, I think he's fantastic. I've had the chance to train with him a few times, and he's just on a different level. And since going to RevPro, seems like he's getting to an even bigger level. I'm on the show in Belgium. He's on that too, so that's pretty cool. But he's fantastic. I think like if I can kind of cheat and give a current and sport name, I know when Leighton Buzzard is back, I would love to wrestle him. I think that would be a lovely one, and he's such a nice guy as well. I really wish him a speedy recovery. So the second he's back, I hope I have an opportunity to wrestle him. And I had another name in mind, Thibaut Hendricks. If I got to wrestle him in a singles match, so technically it is singles, I wrestle him in a triple threat. But if by chance I get to go on to Belgium now and I get to win that FWF Flemish Championship, I strongly believe I'm going to win it, because there's no way I'm going to let myself lose this match. I think he should be first in line for a match. He lost the championship because I pinned him in the triple threat, and now we're left with this gap where he hasn't had his rematch yet, and I'm been getting the rematches. So,
well, I'm going to throw a load of names at you that you put up in November 2023. Because I don't, you might have like looked at your own list and X'd off all these names.
Oh damn!
And I want to see how many out of the list that you've actually fought against. So
that's gonna be bad when it's like 0.
oh,
It's gonna go
there's names on it
real
as well. I
bad.
want to mention as well the shout out to Leon Slater, because when we had you on the first time, he was your number one name as well. So it's brilliant to
Still
hear
yet
he's
to happen.
still on that list.
Still yet to happen.
Man like Derice.
No.
Gotta get it
This is
done.
gonna go so
We're
bad,
We're
man.
gonna push this at all the fucking people now.
We'll count the local rumble for that one. We'll count the local rumble.
You can't count
All
it.
right.
It's fun everybody then.
You know what, right? I'll count people in the local rumble if I was in the ring at the same period of time. The same period of time as them, right? So that's what we'll count this as.
There's one name here I'm gonna skip because we're gonna come because you did find him.
Oh, okay.
Jay again.
When was this? October?
This was November.
Yeah, so I have. So I've wrestled him a few times since. I wrestled him in Finglas, and I wrestled him in the Fatal 4-Way Cruiserweight Championship ladder match
That's
at
right,
NLW. Yeah, so I wrestled him twice.
Obviously, we know Sammy D. You fought for the Hard Knocks World Championship,
And when he was OTT World Champion, I wrestled him too. So
Get into
that's
that in a
twice.
minute.
Awesome.
I can't believe this is on your list. You wanted to fight this guy, the Sam. You wanted to hurt the Sam.
And I have. I gave him a powerbomb in that Fatal 4-Way match. I remember like vividly that powerbomb. Probably hit him with the ladder as well. And no hard feelings, Sam.
Poor Sam. Big Boots Murphy.
We haven't. We've actually we've only ever wrestled in a tag team match and in a battle royal for a camp show in Northern Ireland. That's the only time we've ever wrestled. And even at that, I don't know if we really touched off each other. I remember in the battle royal, he gave me one of the most horrific chops of my entire life. Like my chest was like purple after because his hands are so thick. Like he hits so hard. But I vividly remember that. But I don't think other than that, we haven't really touched off each other on an actual like big enough card or a kind of a more mainstream card for Irish wrestling. So like an NLW or an OTT or a Hard Knox. We actually haven't once, which is crazy to me. Even in the local rumble, we weren't anywhere near each other in the match. But I think in both our minds, we would really like the opportunity to eventually when he's back.
100%. We'd love to fucking see that one. Just watch out for that spine buster, because whoo-hoo!
Yeah, it's gnarly, isn't it?
Scotty Davis.
We haven't since we wrestled in the triple threat, and then I've wrestled on like camp shows in Northern Ireland once or twice as well. That's about it.
Noah Striker.
No, so I think he's actually taken a break from wrestling currently. So he's a Spanish wrestler. I have worked with him technically before that in Tiris does their own Royal Rumble every year in September called the Tiris Rumble, and I was a part of the last one in 2023. I think maybe if it was before that, they could have done one since. I'm a feeling they've done one since then, but he was in that match and we wrestled a little bit in that. He came out number 30, I think, and I came in number 3 and I stayed in for like 45 minutes or something like this. I think it was the Ironman that match. But we wrestled a little bit there, but I'd like to have an opportunity on like a bit more of a main stage to wrestle him now. I think he's fantastic. I do think he's taking a break from wrestling. I haven't heard from him in a while, but I need to double check that.
Shout out to these two who had a brilliant Hard Knocks tag match. I'm going to name one of them at the moment because I have a story with the other person. Mecca.
I haven't, but itching isn't even like the word. Like I mean, like it needs to happen. On top of that, me and Mecca are really close. So I think it'll be really fun. Like we're extremely close, so I think it'll be a lot of fun.
This one has happened twice. Once outside of Ireland, once in Ireland. Coro.
Yeah.
We did an interview with Coro and Mecca, and I brought this up to him that I think he has one win over you in Ireland. I think does he have 2 or 2?
He has 2 wins over me.
But he said he's got 1 win over you in Ireland, and he wants to do it again. Would you do it again? I said to him, please, I would love this to happen in Hard Knocks. I know it happened in OTT. Would love to happen for the Hard Knocks crowd to see it. You and Cora one more time.
1,000 times. 1,000 times. If I could wrestle them every day of the week, it would be the easiest week of my life, you know?
The Golden Boy Santos, the GN champion.
Hasn't happened yet. I would love a little go for that GM belt. Santos, another guy I'm really close with. I will be ducking that lariat at all costs. Otherwise, we mightn't hear from me anymore. And I talk about how I feel I'm sculpted. That I need to kind of get to his level. I don't know what you even consider him beyond sculpted. Sculpted too, but he's
that's just a fucking rock. It's a boulder.
Yeah, he's a freak of nature, man. A freak of nature.
Obviously injured at the moment. Bittersweet Josh.
Weirdly enough, but I think the last time we did the podcast, right, he was the person I wrestled the most times. To now, I haven't actually tried to calculate it because it's kind of a broad number of matches, but he could easily be still the person I wrestled the most. But I haven't wrestled Josh since Comic-Con last year. And Comic-Con is, for people who are watching this back, it's tomorrow and the following day. It's this Saturday and Sunday, which I think is the 8th and 9th or 7th and 8th of September. I haven't wrestled him since the last one, which is strange because I think I've wrestled him 15 or 16 times, but then we've just gone a whole year without touching in any form. I think that it's a good thing as well because we won't be as familiar with each other's levels in the ring and we can see then kind of where we both stand. The second he's back though, God, I'd kill to have a match with him. I'd Big Bad Dirty Nicky into that as well and definitely give me some good tag partner and we'll have a good go.
I'm telling you, there's a Big Boots Murphy. When he comes back, that'd be a great tag team. The Sculpted Cowboys. I can already see it.
I can definitely see that. Tucker, I haven't. Tucker, I think, unreal. Could be one of, if not the best wrestlers to come out. No, other than Big Damo, obviously. I think Tucker is insanely good, to be honest. And I would love to see him even down in Dublin a bit more. Because I know he was doing FiveMarks a while ago, but I wasn't present for any of these shows. I didn't get to run into him. But every time I run into him, he's such a delight to be around. To get to wrestle someone who's in NXT UK as a former avid watcher of NXT UK, it would be pretty cool, you know.
And we spoke about him earlier on, the Mad Dog Con Kelly.
Well, we had our Hard Knox match. As I said, I don't know if it's happened again since. There was one camp show in Northern Ireland where we were in a battle royal together, but again, another person didn't really touch off of in the battle royal. So
ultimately, so far in 2024, you have done half the list. Obviously there's some bangers in there. I'd love to see Golden Boy Santos, obviously massive Santos fucking mark. Mecca, I'd love to see that here though as well. Mecca, I don't know what it is with Koro and Mecca, but the Hype Dogs, I got to see them once at OTT and obviously this past weekend. Every fucking time they're in the ring, it's just, they shouldn't mesh together well, but they just do. Power and speed just go so good.
Yeah.
Zozea, who I've only just been seeing recently in Red Pro, absolutely killing it. But there's a load of names in there.
Yeah. Well, maybe feel a bit better that I wrestled a lot of them because I honestly didn't know who was on this list when you were going to name it back, and I was like, oh, geez, this could go quite bad if I haven't wrestled any of these people.
So, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton.
Soon. We still have
run out of time.
Karma, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, so I'll get into kind of OTT now. And I want to actually start. And where I'm going to start, I'm probably going to pass it back to you, Martin, because I know you're a huge fan of this guy. But Go to Sleep in Belfast at the 9th-year anniversary where you went up against Robbie X. Martin, take it away.
First off, that man needs to be signed to TNA. I can't remember who the man's name is that's in charge, but fucking sign Robbie X. We saw the brilliant match. Your OTT main show debut. An absolutely unbelievable match. I want to start this off by asking, how are you feeling going into the match? Because this was a big moment.
It was a strange one because it was one of those things where all day, this was definitely to that point the biggest match I've ever had. And people coming up to me the whole day and saying to me, are you nervous? Are you nervous? And I honestly hadn't felt any nerves or anxiety. And it was only when in the way the Belfast venue is laid out is there's a set of doors. And when you open the doors, that's the curtain. And you walk through the curtain then. And I walked out and I was standing in behind the curtain and my music started playing. And it was like a rush of adrenaline. Immediately I was like, I'm here. So I'm after making it now to the main show. And again, like no nerves, but it was just this insane feeling until I heard my music. There was no nerves. Then it was like all of them came at once. I still think looking back on it, like if I have the opportunity again to wrestle him, I think the match is going to come off 1,000 times better. But this is all. I'll probably, if I wrestle him tomorrow, I would say the same thing a year from now again. If you get me, I think it's always with time. I'm going to feel this way about every match as time goes on. But I think looking back and like definitely very proud that I was able to keep up one of the best in Europe. Like I'm very much I wouldn't say I'm an emotional person, but I'd be very rare I get emotional after matches. I think it's only ever happened once or twice, and I remember that I came backstage and I had a standing ovation from a lot of the locker room right as I came backstage, and I was standing there and it still hadn't hit me, and I won't name names, but I've seen people get quite emotional after big matches, and it's completely understandable. And I always thought, like, why don't I get that feeling? Why don't I feel this like emotion that they're having? They're obviously like so much more passionate than me. I remember I was standing there, and it was actually Session while I walked up to me. So everyone's clapping and saying, "Well done, how you feeling?" I was like, "Yeah, Grant's trying to get my like breath back because the adrenaline and all." And Session walks up and says, well done. You have to keep it at one of the best in Europe." And then it like hit like that. I remember feeling like in my head, I was like, "Oh, I can't cry over this." Like, but I just remember thinking at that time, I was like, the major thing to me is that my fear is always I can't keep up and that I'm in too deep. That I've somehow gotten to a spot where people are saying you're ready for this spot, and if I'm not going to get that spot again. So to have people kind of give me that confidence made me feel really good. And as well, then the next week with the Milan show, and I went over to Milan to support the Italian lads who managed to support me for my whole career in Ireland because they've been here for all of it. And I remember having a conversation with Joe, and he told me that he was a really big fan of the match too. So that made me feel quite good as well, you know.
Must have been a big confidence booster as well, though, when you're hearing all these comments, especially would have been your first kind of, I suppose, main OTT show. And as well as
Yeah,
that, like when you even make your entrance as well, the people know who you are. They're familiar with who Cian Noonan is.
actually, a funny story now that you say that comes back to me was the day before, I'll assume that everything's okay when it's not. And I remember like we're in charge of getting all their own entrance music and videos to Joe, making sure he has it in advance. And that was my first ever on a main show, and I never had a video in OTT before because I had to that point only ever wrestled. No, like on that. There's all my words on an actual OTT show. On School of Art Wrestling show, I wrestled Terry Thatcher where I didn't have a video. Noah Walker where I think I had a very generic video that said my name. I wrestled in an 8-man tag with CJ West. And the Step Hermanos against the Detachment and Zero, but like Bald Zero from Scotland, not Corey Zero. And then it was this match. For some reason, I assumed that Joe had my video when he didn't. So I remember I walked up to him and it was like, "Oh, do you have my video and all?" And he was like, "I should have had it like 3 days ago," which is completely fair. It's a quite huge weekend. Like, he's not going to have this one video if I didn't send it to him. So I was like, "Oh, shit." And watching back, the only like big thing that gets me every time is that like I'm never really feeling very confident with my entrance. I always feel like it's a struggle, but again, something that comes with confidence and time. And every time I watch that entrance, it says Cian Noonan around on the graphics. It doesn't have my video that I use everywhere now. I was just thinking, God damn, so I wish I had that video there. I wish that was playing instead of just a random Cian Noonan name. But that was my own mistake. So
I suppose these things happen. You know for future shows, and I suppose you did learn for the show that we'll get up to in a couple of minutes.
Before you move on there, Carmel, can I just talk about just quickly one moment at the Robbie X man? I want to talk about the end of it because obviously you could just see in your face, you can see your expression. The match was done. You got the arm raised by Robbie X and everything. The crowd, you got a standing ovation, and just the video of you sitting on the rope, just taking that moment, taking it all in. To see everybody, because like we all know who you are. We all have been supporting you for ages. Been asking for you to be on that main show for God knows how long. To get it, and everyone gave you that standing ovation. What was that like, that moment in the ring, seeing this?
I'm very much a person where in most wrestling situations, because of how new I am. It's very rare where I feel like I'm not the underdog, and that's very much more where I knew I was the underdog in that match. And losing a match that caliber is devastating. It could have been a very big catalyst in helping me get further to where I am now, or quicker to where I am now, but I'd won. But I remember sitting there, and then when the fans start to come up and give you that reaction, give you that response that they're happy with what I've done and they're happy with the fight I put up, it is very overwhelming. And that video is one of my favorites I've ever had, and I think it's because when I don't expect like my parents or friends to kind of get wrestling, and they seem to get and understand why I love it so much, and they're happy with the work I put in, they're proud of the work I put in, why I get back. But when you get the show or something like that and go like, by that point I'd worked like over a year and a bit for this match. I finally got a huge opportunity on a big show with a big import, and I kept up one of the best in Europe, and this was the reward I got, was how the crowd reacted to me. You can see, I think in the moment I am quite overwhelmed, but I'd be very hard pressed to find someone who just got that opportunity wouldn't be. It's an insane feeling. Like it's I say constantly, wrestling is a drug you'll chase for the rest of your life, because when you get that kind of appreciation from people and it's so overwhelmingly positive, it just is the best feeling in the world.
I'll throw it back to you now, Carmel.
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose we'll move on to the next show then, which is now, that's what I call Christmas in Dublin, where you went up against O'Mary.
Smashed them up, I did.
It was an absolute squash job. He just slapped O'Mary down, ran away with the money.
And went to sleep is what happened.
Why did you bring this one up? Of all the matches you could have brought up.
I have to bring up matches. That was your first main OTT show in Dublin.
Yeah, and to be honest, it was like I said about the Robbie X match. Again, no nerves the whole day until I get to the curtain. But this time it was different, because to me it's like I never really wrestled in Dublin other than contender shows. I'm now on a main show in Dublin, and maybe fortunately I know friends or family there, because we know how the match went. We know how history goes. If people haven't seen it, you can find it on OTT on demand. But I remember standing at the curtain and my music started playing, and I was literally shouting, "I fucking made it! I fucking made it!" Because I trained and put all these hours in and had wrestled as much as I could to get seen and get these opportunities, and to get better, to get these opportunities. And I finally made it to a main show. I think since then, I hadn't really had a proper main show match until Curlo, which is a while down the line. I'm sure you guys are going to end up bringing it up at some point. But that was a moment where I really tell myself, I fucking made it. And it's all, as I said, it's always small goals. Some people, if they see like this lad wrestling in Dublin OTT, they might think it's huge. Like, but to me as a wrestler, and I can speak for all wrestling, it is insanely big. Like, it means the fucking world to me that I went from a fan who was sitting in the crowds at OTT shows and watching religiously on demand to now get the opportunity to wrestle for, let's say, a School of Irish Wrestling show. Then it turns to a Contenders. Like, fuck me, I'm on Contenders. I paid money to go see Contenders. Then I was on main show in Belfast and the Europa, in videos and like matches I'd seen and watched in Europa, like Scotty Davis and Jordan Devlin, these type of matches. And then I got from that to main show. I'm now wrestling on like the main pinnacle of OTT other than Stadium. So now it's all about the chase to Stadium for me in OTT. But that was one of the first moments where I was really like, I'm after fucking making it. I made it to a level where I can be really, really fucking proud of what I've done.
Great answer, actually, to be fair, yeah. I want to move into Local Rumble.
Yeah.
We talked about this at the time, I think, of Local Rumble. I don't know if we had someone on and we mentioned this at the time, or it could have been someone else and we were talking about something similar. There's very few times in wrestling where you get to be, like, I will say, the first of something. You actually got to take part in OTT's first ever Rumble.
Yeah.
In 10 years at OTT, that was the first ever Rumble you got to be part of it. What's that like, I suppose, to be now in the history books?
It's really cool. Like, again, small goals. I'm now part of history technically OTT. Maybe not a major part of it or a main part of it, but if OTT keeps expanding the way it is right now and continues momentum now, like the momentum I had pre-COVID, I think if OTT keeps growing, it gets bigger and bigger, people will look back on these Rumbles. And I'm a part of it, and it's really cool. I had thought even pre-COVID, I wonder if OTT would ever do one. I didn't know if it was possible. and getting to be a part of it was great. And I think like the footage proves it was one of the best Rumbles I think an independent has ever done. I think it's amazing. I think the concept of it's great too, that it's not just 30 people, that high teams are considered as one entrant. Jay Money got involved in it at the start, and he's technically a manager. I don't know if he's recognised as part of the match, but in my eyes, he's recognised as part of the match. We had some big names come into the match as well from abroad. Like, I was in the ring when Grado came into the ring, and I remember just watching him have the whole room's attention, and the fans all singing Madonna while he's doing his entrance, and it's just, I remember thinking, like, this is surreal. Like, I've watched the video of him making his entrance in ICW that I'm sure everyone's seen 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And I'm now in the ring for when he makes his big entrance in OTT. I think that's the first time he'd done that since he wrestled at Scrappermania against Charlie Stern a few years ago in the stadium. So like, it's quite big to me to be able to be in the ring for that. But it meant a lot. I don't want to go on for too long about it, but as well, like, getting to share the ring with Paddy M and Captain Sexy. These are two lads where I paid money to watch these lads wrestle. And I used to go to the shows and watch these lads wrestle and support them. Especially like Paddy, I didn't think would ever happen. If he ever came back, at the end of the day, we both are kind of nice towards the crowd and stuff. I didn't think it's possible for us to be put on a match against one another. Captain Sexy, I didn't even consider a possibility to be able to wrestle. And even though it wrecked my bollocks being hit with like a super sexy slip inside, it was pretty cool to be able to have that happen. pretty cool. So great memories of that match.
Love it. But look, we move into Showdown in Sheriff Street then, where you go up against Sammy D for the OTT World Championship. Again, kind of like the Hard Knox situation where you get that match announcement. When you find out this match is going to happen, like, it must be some sort of buzz or excitement getting prepared for this.
It was actually the most stressed I've ever been in my life, to be honest. I don't know if I've ever told the story outside of like people in wrestling, but that Monday in training, I was really hyper, and I decided, like the way Rich Swan did a standing 450, I tried to do a standing spiral tap. And in fairness, right, as stupid as that sounds, I had tried it a few times previously, and I was getting like half a rotation and 3/4 of a rotation. So it did seem physically possible. And I jumped and twisted. And essentially, I'm going to use this Ric Flair that's in front of me here. I landed directly on the top of my head, but my body kept spinning and my head didn't move. So I, like, all the momentum moved, and I literally cracked every vertebrae in my spine the whole way down. And I just rolled out of the ring and like lay down, and I was like, I'm fucked. Like, I'm actually fucked here. And I went to see a physio the next day, and she said that I'd whiplash. And I said, what's it looking like for when I can start training again? And she was like, oh, in a week you should be okay. I was like, grand. And then on the Wednesday, I get announced I'm wrestling the OTT World Champion for Saturday. It's right. And in my head, I was like, I'm not one to take the high road and go like, I'm going to wrestle her. Because if I got even worse, I got more of a serious injury, then where am I going to be then? Especially if it's like your neck or your back. So I was like, in my head, I'll give it till like Thursday night or Friday. But Wednesday, I was actually starting to feel okay from like stretching and keeping my back warm. I was like, I'll give it till like Thursday night or Friday. And if I'm still fucked, I need to pull out of this match. And I got to Thursday night and Friday morning, and I felt completely fine. I'll go ahead with it. But wrestling Sammy D, who his finisher is the package pile driver, and he does like that yoke. I can't remember if it's an Ushigoroshi onto the knee. He does something else where you land neck first on the knee. I remember thinking like, oh my God, this could go really bad. Thank God I felt good going into the match. I was a day early from when I should have came back. But I was fine. I went through the match completely fine. Was fine after. I actually really hurt my knee in the match. After he put me in the 3-0. And surprisingly enough, it was weird coming out of a match where I was quite conscious of my neck and my back, and ended up coming out with a really dodgy knee from it. But look, this is wrestling, you know. But I have very fond memories of the match. It was obviously a great opportunity. He was OT World Champion. It wasn't for the championship, unfortunately. But watching him do his entrance and he had the championship in his hand, thinking like I wrestled Omari on my first Comic-Con. So this is my third Comic-Con this weekend. But on my first Comic-Con, I wrestled Omari for the World Championship. So it was a similar feeling, even though it wasn't for the championship, and I knew I was probably at my depth wrestling Omari for that time. wrestling Sammy D, I felt like, right, I'm at a good level here. This was for the championship. I have a good shot. And unfortunately, I came up short, but good memories of the match. Very stressful time building up to it, you know?
You didn't go back to the
Absolutely.
physio afterwards, no, but like, my knee's fucked. I thought it was your neck.
I think she would have killed me for that.
Look, I want to move to Contenders 24, and you spoke about it earlier, where you went up against James Ellis. James Ellis, obviously, who's been on a massive rise in the last 12 months. Obviously, on the same weekend that we get up to in a couple of minutes, he fought LJ Cleary at the Scrapper in Wolves. What was it like, I suppose, stepping into the ring with James Ellis?
Now, this is like a bad streak here, because this is also like another time where I was extremely stressed for a match, and it's very, very rare. So, going up to this point, there was a period of time earlier this year where I just kept getting sick. I didn't know why. And we tried a few different things. Like, I wasn't sure, maybe it was burnout. So I stopped training for like a week, and I go back, and after another week, I got sick again. So it was happening just before I went to APC. And while I was over in France, I was still quite like blocked up with my nose, my sinuses and all. And I made it through APC, and I got home. And I think the following weekend was Fingless with Jay. And again, I was still feeling kind of sick. And then I went through the match with Jay, and afterwards I feel really sick. Like, I remember, like, during the week I was feeling sick, and then about Wednesday, Thursday, I actually feel okay again. And by, I think the show was on a Sunday, I felt completely fine. But after the match, I remember feeling like I feel really sick all of a sudden, like just with like feeling weak and my throat sore and I'm tired. But from that like weekend, I couldn't do anything for the next month. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't train. I couldn't wrestle, and I was just so sick. I'm not sure what had happened, and I went and got blood tests done and everything. I was on antibiotics. I went through 2 weeks antibiotics, and then failed. I was sick again. Had to go through another 2 weeks. So it was a good like portion of time over the course of the 2.5 months at the start of this year where I was constantly sick, and then a good month and a bit where I was sick the entire time. And that was my first match back, and I hadn't trained in like a month. And I had just done 2 days of those weekend seminars, and I felt my cardio was like zilch. I have no cardio, and I would like to pride myself on, I think I have excellent cardio. I never really get tired. I find maybe my legs sometimes might get tired, but my breathing, I never get tired when I wrestle. And also I found when I started back training, all of a sudden I lost the ability to kind of speak, like to kind of interact with crowd. So in training, you're still trying to interact with a crowd or some of the other wrestlers to try kind of get out of your shell. And I found it was like I had taken 100 steps back in just a month. It was like I lost all my confidence. So I was really stressed about contender. So I was like, I really want to wrestle. It's hard to say no, and I feel up to the task now. But if I'm given a match like a singles match, it's going to be really hard to kind of figure out if I can keep up with it. And on top of that as well, to that point, I'd only ever, on a contenders match, I lost to Noah Walker in a minute, and then I wrestled in an 8-man tag team match. So both times I didn't have to use as much energy, and I hadn't been given a match where I could showcase myself. So in my head, I was saying, no possible way I'm going to have a match that's going to showcase myself. And for those contender shows, you only find out about an hour before, or even a half an hour before you guys are allowed to the venue. That's when I find out who I'm wrestling. So they're announcing the matches for the card, and there's like all these 10-man tags and a battle royal, and I was like, this is grand, because the last contenders I wasn't even booked, so this contenders is fine, I'm not going to be booked.
Yeah.
And then he goes, Kane and James Ellis. That's really weird. I was like, I'm pretty sure they said Kane, but they definitely didn't. There's no way I'm wrestling a singles match on a contenders. And then I walked up to the lads after and was like, did you say me and James? Yeah. Okay, let's go. The match itself, I'm really happy with, and it actually gave me back a lot of my confidence, because James is such a professional and such a great wrestler. I think him getting on a Scrapper Mania was fantastic, and I really, really hope I could see him again in Ireland, especially in OTT. I think he's an amazing wrestler. Again, another match like most of mine currently, didn't win. Still quite new. I'm still trying to get wins and get enough experience where I'm able to beat wrestlers. As I'm quite inexperienced as of now. But James is a fantastic wrestler, and gave me back a lot of my confidence. I think, I'm not sure if people have noticed it outside of wrestling, but I find I gel my best with someone who wrestles differently to me. I think that when I'm wrestling someone who also does all the flips and is quite high paced, I think it doesn't come off the way in my head I had, like how I like matches to be. it's a hard one to explain, to be honest. I don't want to pull too much away, but to me, like wrestling the likes of Sammy D or LJ Cleary or James Ellis or CBL, like lads who don't wrestle the same style as me, but can still wrestle a fast style or like a high level work rate for like independent wrestling. That's the type of wrestler I like to wrestle. So he's a great example of that. That he doesn't do any flips. He doesn't need to do anything like that. But he's so unbelievably good that it doesn't matter who he's going to wrestle, or if he wrestles like me or wrestles like Boots, or wrestles like Sen, it's going to click. So I really enjoyed it. I think it was great. Just again, another match, 2 weeks top in a row where I was stressed out of my mind going into it because of other circumstances. But it seems I've since then not been sick, so maybe that's a good sign as well, you know?
Yeah, which was really good. It's a match I'd love to see again as well, actually, is yourself and James Ellis.
100%. Maybe in Hard Knox.
Country, really.
Yeah, maybe in Hard Knox, 100%.
100%. But look, we move into Sanity, where you go up against Kuro. Again, you've talked about Kuro and how you would wrestle him any day of the week. There must have been, I suppose, I don't know, delighted, I suppose, might be the right word, when you found out that you were going to be wrestling Kuro at Sanity.
Yeah. Kuro's, I'd like to think, one of my best friends that I made through wrestling. I always think of it all the time. It's so strange how, like, we just clicked. And unfortunately, we're now on a lot of the same shows, which is even crazier to me because up until before I met him, he hadn't wrestled in Ireland. We met at FWF in Belgium. The first one was over there. I went over and did a camp, like a training camp, and afterwards there was the 2 shows, and I got to wrestle over there, and we were on the same shows. I would have wrestled him 3 times. I was supposed to wrestle him that weekend, and I broke 2 of my toes on the Saturday. I couldn't walk, so I couldn't wrestle on the Sunday. I sound like a bitch saying that 'cause it's just my toes, but and I was fully going to wrestle, but I was talked out of it. But we just clicked right away. Like we got on really well, and we talk all the time since then. And then came out for a contenders camp, and then he started getting brought back and doing OTT more. And now he's done Hard Knocks. He's here for FiveMarks. He's here for FiveMarks. I try to meet up with him while he's here. On every Belgium card I've been on, he's been on the Belgium card, so I see him every time I'm in Belgium. I went to APC and seen him there. And now when I go to Bangor Zone, it's I think the first time I'm going like over to Belgium or France. He's not there because he should be somewhere else wrestling, I think, that weekend. But it's insane how like we went from meeting in Belgium to we got to meet each other so many other times, and then we get to wrestle in Sandy. And when I was announced, I was away in Portugal at the time, and I was just delighted. I couldn't wait to get home and have it happen, you know. So I was completely not really delighted. I think he's phenomenal. I really think that we're in a period where so many European wrestlers for the first time in a long time seem like they're really starting to break out of their shell and get really big. And I feel like he's really close on that list to hitting like a Progress or a Rev Pro and then just taking off and leaving us all behind, you know. But he's fantastic.
Absolutely. And I think as we've all said, like Cora and Mecca are 2 people that we should have in this country a lot more often.
Yeah.
I know they're really starting to break through at the moment, but I can't wait to see what they do in the next.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
But look, we get into. We've said it once or twice between us about your biggest match of your career, but this could be one of the top on that list. OTT Aftermath, right after Scrappermania in Belfast. You go up against the MVP of Irish wrestling. He's just a good-looking guy, living his beautiful life. He paid me to do that, so it's okay. L.J. Cleary.
Definitely the biggest match I've had.
Yeah.
And that does get like a full stop. Until now, definitely. To me, because I'm sure that you guys have seen the video, like I was a big fan of OTT. The reason I'm wrestling is like finding OTT through a friend and getting to meet Will Ospreay. And when I met Will Ospreay, it was kind of the wake up call that like maybe it's possible that he's this close to me, then I might be able to do this. And on that show, LJ Cleary was on it, and then I got to meet LJ Cleary the next show I went to. So I have a photo from like when I was a fan that I couldn't believe I found. I didn't think this photo even exists anymore, and I somehow dug it up and was like, "This is crazy." Then I start training, and LJ is my trainer. LJ, when I started wrestling for my 3rd match, I was in a tag team match with him. That's the only time we're ever in a ring together was when we were in a tag team match, and we won. So he got me my first win in wrestling as well. So it's a pretty crazy thing to me that I went from like to me, this is the guy I watched wrestle Scotty Davis in a ladder match at the National Stadium. This is the lad I've seen wrestle for the OT Championship in the Ringside Club. So to me, it's a pretty big deal. And for him to go off then to Noah, and by that point also have wrestled in New Japan now against Zack Sabre Jr., like that's crazy to me. So I get to wrestle a lad who's now wrestling New Japan, and in my opinion, is one of my biggest inspirations in Irish wrestling itself, because I think he's really helping open doors for lads like me to try get to, and has left brass rings for lads like me to try grab. I was very, very humbled when after the match he said, "This is no longer the LJ Cleary spot, it's the Cian Noonan spot," because I think that's words that were out of a realm of possibility for me. So I'm extremely humbled that I got to wrestle him, and to kind of prove to one of my teachers, like, I'm starting to do something right. I'm starting to become something in wrestling, and I think that he's just one of the first stepping stones to help me get there. But it's very hard to wrap my mind around, like, to put in perspective to myself, like, I've now wrestled a lad who technically wrestled in New Japan, wrestling Noah. Noah is fucking huge. Noah's where, like, Kenta Kobashi wrestled on Mitsuharu Misawa. Like, to me, that's fucking huge, That's just so cool.
To have that match with LJ, and like the LJ we've seen before he went to Noah and the LJ that he now is after being in Noah, he's leveled up so much.
Yeah,
you can see it in his ability in the ring and everything like that. But to know that you went toe to toe and were very close to beating LJ Cleary, that must be like huge for yourself.
I like to think I'm in LJ Cleary's spot from just before COVID hit. I like to think I've got myself there. Now, by that point, he had wrestled probably 60 times on OTT. I haven't got to that level yet. But I think that wrestling's always progressing. I'd like to think I'm getting towards the spot that he's kind of left in OTT. If he calls it the Cian Noonan spot, I'm very humbled to hear that. But I'd like to think that getting to wrestle him and then nearly beating him is a really hard thing. Like, I can't even put the words to it. It's just mad to me that, like, how have you even got there? Like, I think I'm going to have these moments across the rest of my life, because I plan on wrestling the rest of my life. But it's just amazing to me that I got to share the ring with someone I truly idolize. I think, I don't have words. That's it. I'm actually kind of left speechless. It's something that when I think about it, I'm just really overwhelmingly happy with. Another match that's definitely like my top 5 easily. But I'll always be forever grateful for the opportunity. And next time he's back on, I want another match in Belfast. I think it's a given at this point. I think that coming that close to beating him, I'm certain I can beat him.
To be honest, if he like when he comes back, we all know he's going to come back at some stage. If that match is to happen again, I don't want it in Belfast. I want it in the stadium.
I think that would be a great place to do it.
It's deserving of it. Without a doubt, it's deserving of it.
If I get to touch a stadium anytime soon, that's the dream, So that's what everyone in the country is working towards, I like to believe.
Well, if you've ever proved yourself as much, you've proved yourself in that match against LJ Cleary.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I have one more question to ask, but I'm going to hand it over to you, Martin, because I think it's kind of a closer question. So if you have anything else that you want to ask,
I have a lot more questions, so we'll close it out for you.
Fair enough. Okay, my last question, because I have to head away, unfortunately. When LJ left, he talked about he was obviously the MVP of Irish wrestling.
Yeah.
When he left, he talked about having someone else take that spot. And when he talks about not being the MVP of Irish wrestling, he doesn't mean just being the workhorse in Irish wrestling. It means traveling around, representing your country everywhere you go. Do you feel like that you've stepped up to that spot and maybe not now, but are on your way to become the new MVP of Irish wrestling?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a better way to phrase it. I feel like I'm on my way there. I don't know how long it's going to be until I get there, and I'm not really in a rush either, But to say, have I done it yet? I'm not sure. I feel like I'm stepping up that spot. I'd like to see it. I like when you see that I'm wrestling in places like APC, or in Bangor Zone. I think that's a good representation of the work that I'm putting in. And I think there's a lot of other lads who are candidates for that spot as well, you know. But I think, again, as he phrased it, if it is the Cian Noonan spot, then I think I'm doing a pretty good job of it.
Love it. But look, that's all my questions. Unfortunately, Cian, I'm going to have to leave.
That's not stress.
We're going to segue
for me
for everyone in the episode. So, Carmo, if you want to.
Yeah, thank you for hopping on. But for me, I'm ding done. See you later.
Lovely to talk to you, man. I'll see you again.
See you later, guys.
So we're back. Carmo has had to run away, so it's just myself and Mr. Noonan. In case anyone was sitting there wondering, why is Martin not fucking talking? I knew this was coming up. As Carmo just talked about there with LJ Cleary kind of stepping away, I put that in a tweet before the matchup, because I truly believe, look, we have so much amazing talent here on the island of Ireland. You know, Josh is coming up, Boots is coming up, Sam. We have guys who are already kind of establishing. Like I will put Bullet in with someone who's like almost established. Guinness, fucking Terry Thatcher, who I feel is just not underappreciated, but like almost underrated here on this island. Terry Thatcher is just amazing.
100%.
But I do feel like you are the person to fill in those shoes. I go back to when the IWE did their award show a year ago, and LJ won an award for being like an MVP of Irish wrestling. He just spoke about, you've got to be traveling, you've got to be getting your name out there, you've got to be going place to place to place. You're someone who is doing that at the moment, especially from your own class. You're just going everywhere and getting your name out there.
Yeah, it's been a great experience the last few months, you know, getting to travel outside of Ireland. I think looking back in hindsight, the first time I was going to Belgium, I'm very much a person who at times can get quite frustrated over not being sure I'm making the right choice. And I remember specifically for Belgium, I was thinking like, oh, what if I go and like I don't enjoy myself? Then what was the point in going? And I remember being told like, you might as well go. At least you have the experience of going to Belgium. And I was like, okay, grand. And then I ended up getting a match with the import that's run for Belgium. Showed name's Kelly Six. He wrestled in the UK. He used to wrestle in like WCPW and stuff. And I remember like being told tagging with him. That's pretty cool. But that one experience gave me the confidence then to try and go elsewhere. On that weekend as well, we've done a seminar with Doug Williams, and I asked him about it and said, what's advice to lads trying to get their name out there? And he said that in 2002, he used to send VHS tapes in the post to the US, and he said he'd done like 100 or 200 of them, and 4 places got back to him. And he said all he needed was those 4 places, and that was it. He was sorted for US bookings from then on. So that's how he got into Ring of Honor, for example. And then he added to the end that he said, so today it's much easier because you have email and you have all these social media platforms where you can just see a place, open it, text them immediately, they'll get back to you in 5 minutes, you know? So that's a really important perspective for me. And to be honest, like trying to reach out to new places is tough, especially when I was first starting to do it, because it was very hard to try to get noticed by anywhere. I feel like the more the easier it's getting for me now. It's still quite tough, but like the idea of now being able to do something like a Bangor Zone, travel to something that level is quite big, you know. So it's as you said, like you need to travel everywhere to be the MVP, and I'd like to think I'm trying to get to that level. But like if you look at the level LJ is at with traveling, like he is being everywhere, you know, absolutely everywhere, which is insane.
As well as you mentioned there, obviously nowadays it is a lot easier, especially when not only you're kind of putting your stuff out there, but you've like fans who are putting out whether it be clips of your match that happened, tagging different companies as well. Like one thing I love to fucking do is make the highlight videos. Like I did one for fucking Jay and stuff, things like that, even just to get your guys' fucking names out there and just give you little videos to be like, here, look, I'm available for bookings. You know, here's a little highlight reel. You've done so much already in 2024. Obviously, we said there's still a load of names on your list that you want to face. What is there anything kind of still left to achieve before the year goes out?
Oh, I was going to say in general. I was like, geez,
in general, there's a long way to go.
Yeah, but for the rest of the year, I think so. Like, obviously, we have the stadium in October. That's the main goal right now. If I could get onto a show where Finn Balor and Jordan Devlin's wrestling on it, like it's unheard of in wrestling to have this happen. But like,
Yeah.
especially for something like Ireland, like we're this small country off the very side of Europe there, and we are grabbing all this attention for wrestling, and we were grabbing so much before COVID. And I feel like COVID killed a bit of momentum, but I feel like we're grabbing it more than ever now. So it's crazy to even think that like I had the opportunity to get on a show that Finn Balor is going to be on, and like I can remember like going to the Tree Arena and watching wrestle Sheamus in 2015 and thinking like that was the best match I'd ever seen, like to that point. So like I can now have the opportunity to be on a show with him. So to me, the stadium is the big goal right now. Um, for other goals, it feels like a lot of stuff is kind of unachievable in such a short time. I would love to wrestle for a championship in OTT, any championship specifically, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because typically the type of caliber of wrestler that fits this spot, I feel like falls into my category, the GN championship. If I got to wrestle for that, I feel like
Yes.
that's very much like the scramble championship. Me and Josh have all the time. I think it's great that it was that championship because that's my style of wrestling. That's my bread and butter. I like the idea of wrestling in all these mad, fast paced matches. I feel like that's where that championship belongs. So if I got the opportunity to wrestle for that in some form, it'd be amazing. To wrestle on that Belfast show as well, the weekend of stadium, seeing that poster, I was going, oh my God, what the fuck? Eugene and Suicide and Rene Dupree on a card. What the hell is going on?
I'll tell you a funny story. When that came out, was it I think it was yesterday. I was in work
Yeah.
and like the lads were going crazy. We were like, Rene Dupree, what the fuck? Suicide. I put the voice like, lads, do you not see the star there? Fucking Eugene's coming.
Eugene,
What?
yeah.
What the fuck?
That was the biggest thing to me is like, that I'm a real big fan of like mad obscure wrestling. And I'd like to think that like, this is something that's just real out there. Like we were supposed to have Rene Dupree before, so maybe I just didn't react the same way as I would the first time. I seen Eugene, I was like, that is sick. I was like, that is like like a ruthless aggression era wrestler just coming to OTT. Without like anyone having any idea it's gonna happen. I was like, that is sick. So I don't know who he's wrestling, but I'm all for watching that. So I'm very excited for that as well. That's great. So if we got that Belfast show, that'd be awesome. I think that's like kind of for the rest of the year. That's like the big block of what's happening in Ireland. I think is that weekend. Because in general, wrestling tends to kind of quiet down November, December. Obviously, be Christmas shows. Everyone has their Christmas shows, but I think that's the real push right now is to get onto one of them. I seen that Michael Oku is wrestling now in Belfast.
Yes.
I don't know if he's on Stadium, but that is a name that's like a real big
Red
dream match
hot
for
at the
Kearney. I
moment.
probably should have mentioned him earlier in Europe, but like that lad is like, it seems now it's not too far out of reach. I can get there. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. But that's a big one for me as well. I think that'd be a real make or break match, you know?
100%. I think like Oku as well, someone who's had so many banger matches this year, likes of MJF, Will Ospreay
Yeah.
still. His match with Ospreay still to me is the match of the year. It was just brilliant.
Yeah, it's mad that like I've never really watched Rev Pro, and that was a match I went and specifically hunted down to watch because I was like, that I know that's going to be great. Seeing like the story built up on social media, I know that's going to be great, and it was unreal. You're dead right.
It was fucking phenomenal. I'd love to see that. Yeah, you versus Oku as well. The GM title. I when Jay was holding it, I saw that as being OTT's Intercontinental title. It was like the workhorse title, you know. They
Yeah.
put on banger after banger. So
And as well, like previously with Mark Hoskins, I think the same, and LJ Clear, like to think the same. Like that is a workhorse championship. I even remember seeing Mark Hoskins versus Session Mott in the Ringside Club when he used to go to shows and attend as a fan. I'm thinking like that belt like has an era or like a feeling of prestige to it because of how high the work rate is. If you haven't seen it, Terry Thatcher wrestled Mark Hoskins for it in the Ringside Club, and it's one of the best matches I've ever seen from OTT.
now I want to ask you about obviously we spoke about it just there a moment ago. The Finn Balor and Jordan Devlin coming over. Where were you when that video went up?
But I've actually a good story about this. So I was at that stadium because I'm not wrestling, and I'm starting to get to a level now where I'm on shows there where I'm not really on the floor as much as you might have seen before, where I'm sitting on the floor and moving people and stuff. I'm not there as much, but I wasn't exactly sitting around watching either. I was kind of just walking around, making sure like nothing's spilled or making sure the wrestlers are coming from backstage, occurring this type of stuff. But just doing little jobs. I was standing over to the side with Colin Black, and it comes on intermission. We go, all right, we go walk around for a few minutes. And right as we go to walk away from each other, a video starts playing. And in my head, I was like, oh, great, this is the stadium announced for October, because we knew that it was going to be in the National Stadium as like the rest of it, but we didn't know what was happening. So to us, we were like, we need to find out who's going to be on this show to kind of build the stadium and sell the tickets. So we were walking, and this video starts playing. And I remember, like, I don't think I've ever heard a reaction that loud. I always say that when I used to go to shows as a fan, probably the loudest reaction I've ever heard for something spontaneous like that was when they announced the Lucha Brothers are coming to OTT, and it's not on demand, which is still like a shame to me. But the place literally exploded when they announced the Lucha Brothers. So I was walking with Colin Black, and the video starts playing, and then it says like the wrestlers now meet their Judgment Day, and the place goes, oh. And then it flashes, and I see the Judgment Day logo, and I go, that's the Judgment Day logo. My brain's still processing, like, there's no possible way the Judgment Day are going to OTT. Like, it's just not happening.
Yeah.
So in my head, in that 1 second, I was saying, it was like I forgot about the first half of the video. I was saying, this must be an advertisement for the Judgment Day because they're tag champs or something like this, which would have never happened. But then it flashed Jordan's face, and I started losing my shit, and so did Callum Black. What the fuck? Like, Jordan Devlin, who's currently JD McDonough, sorry, who's currently the tag champion, is coming to OTT again. And then Finn Balor came up, and that was like out of the realm of possibility. That was like, how can I even give it a word to that? Like, that is not possible. Simple as, even now, it's just not possible. Like, I can't believe that's happened. It's the first time since pre-COVID watching wrestling. I literally was jumping up and down at wrestling as well. People say it all the time. I might mention the last few years ago that your brain changes when you watch wrestling when you start to wrestle. That, like, I see it from a different perspective more as I'm studying it rather than watching it as a fan. And it was a moment where I felt completely like I was a fan. Like, I couldn't believe what was happening. Unbelievably hyped. So even now, thinking about it, I'll go back and watch the video after. It's going to be so unbelievably hyped. So it's really cool.
I'll just say, as a fan as well, like, I remember when when your man goes, you know, oh, they'll meet their Judgment Day. In my head, I went, okay, cool. So the next show is called Judgment Day. And then, like, just a quick flash, and you went, hold up. Flash again. Fuck. I was like, do you remember Johnny Gargano returning? Like, see the fans kind of going, wait, what? No! It was literally that. Jordan comes up like, Jordan Devlin's back. And then fucking Finn, like someone you would never expect to see again.
It's not possible. It's like, and as well, like, he said that when he came to OTT the first time and he did like the segment in the ring, he said he's going to come back. And then at the Christmas show, he held the sign where he was doing like I think the film Love Actually, I could have it wrong, where he's dropping all the signs and he's saying like how much he loves her or whatever. But he was saying about OTT, have a Merry Christmas, and then he goes, I'll see you very soon. And the place popped crazy. And this is the first time now that I've actually thought about that since the Christmas show. I haven't thought about that once, so we started talking about this now, and it's kind of come back to me. So the fact he said, we'll see you very soon, is pretty cool now that he's actually here. Like, I just didn't think it was possible, you know? It's very cool.
And let's talk about 10 years of OTT. Obviously, I've only been a fan for the last 2. You've kind of been in it a bit longer. You've seen some of the great matches. I believe you were there for Scotty Davis and Will Ospreay.
There's videos of me in the crowd chanting for the match, and it haunts me to this day. But
we were all fans at the beginning. What is that like to you? Like, we're coming to the 10-year anniversary of it, and hopefully, you know, in some way, shape, or form, you'll get to take part in it. But even just to be part of OTT going into its 10th year anniversary, what's that kind of buzz like?
It's unreal, to be honest. And like, I feel like this is something I started to think about when I started training. Is like, it's not that far out of reach, and it's kind of crept up really fast, you know.
Yeah.
Like, even I was thinking of randomly the other day what matches that BDE have had at stadium. While I was walking to work, I was trying to think, and I was like, well, this stadium was a scrapper, and this stadium was an anniversary. If I'm correct, then they must have wrestled at the 8th anniversary, which, if they have, like, that's 2 anniversaries ago, which is cool. Now, I could be wrong about that,
I
But
think
to me, that's like really cool that now, like, I'm still 2 years on from that point, or if it was the previous scrapper or the scrapper after that, then it means a year and a half from that point. It's like that's still a major jump in time without even realizing how fast that's all went by, if you get me.
yeah.
So the 10th anniversary, pretty cool.
Especially like because like you think about like the guys that you said, like Josh. Obviously, I think he's done two now. I think with Scrapper. I think Scrapper last year was his first. Then I don't know if he was on an anniversary or not, and then going
Yeah,
on to
he was.
Scrapper
So then,
again
yeah,
this
that's
year.
right. So it's about a year and a half now. Yeah,
Like we've seen Sam go on, and he's been
yeah.
on two or three, especially teaming with Santino to winning the GN title. So like I do think your moment is due, along with Big Boots Murphy. That man needs to go on fucking a stadium show as well. I want to kind of talk about because we never talk about with the guys kind of studying wrestling. Like what kind of way do you go about it? Do you just like would you be a person to watch matches back from X amount of years ago, or do you prefer to just kind of be in the moment, kind of be at the matches, be at the school, and learn that way?
I think it's a mix of both. What I found is like I can't watch a lot of wrestling that I used to enjoy pre-COVID. So like I loved PWG pre-COVID. And I think that's a big reason for why I'm wrestling now as well. And if you ask Josh, he'll probably say the same thing, that it's Black and Gold NXT and PWG that got us wrestling. Like it's highly like that, especially Black and Gold NXT. But since then, like I find that what's weird to me is when I used to watch that era of wrestling, I always wanted new, what's next, what's next, what's next. And I wasn't watching as much old stuff. Like if you ask me pre-COVID, my favorite match of all time is one of them is still the same, but the other would have been Kota Ibushi and Cedric Alexander from the Cruiserweight Classic.
Cruiserweight
It's
Classic,
that type
yeah.
of match, yeah. But it's changed now where I much more appreciate other styles of wrestling and can only really watch it. So as I said, like I prefer to wrestle a style where I'm wrestling someone completely diverse to me. I also prefer to watch styles that are completely diverse to me. I like watching wrestling that looks really rough and visceral. So like when you're watching people like your Chris Benoit's or your Kurt Angles, like these are the lads I like to watch. But personally, my favorite wrestler ever and still currently is Shawn Michaels. I think Shawn Michaels is the GOAT, and second place is far, far away from him. And I watch a lot of Shawn Michaels. Whenever I get my hands on Shawn Michaels, I'll watch. Recently, I found watching a lot of 1-2-3 Kid as well. Something I like to study. I think there's something about watching. As I said, I feel like in a lot of situations I'm the underdog,
Yeah.
and I really like being considered the underdog because it kind of gives you this hunger to try and win and gets the fans behind you. And I think 1-2-3 Kid is a great example of an underdog. I can push highly. It's something that I've been praising for a while now. If anyone watches his match with Bret Hart for the WWF title from Raw, it's the opening match of that Raw. It's on YouTube, the full match, in very high quality with the segments before and everything. It's great, but it's fantastic. Like 1-2-3 Kid is an amazing example of an underdog. You know, Shawn Michaels matches. The kind of my go tos are Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21 is my favorite match of all time. I think it's a real good watch, and I would recommend anyone to go see it if they haven't, because the kind of something Shawn Michaels talks about that match is, as I said, I like wrestling when it's visceral and rough, and he says kind of the beauty of that match is when he first was wrestling pre the back injury, it was all about making everything look as kind of smooth and crisp as possible. But when he came back, it was about making everything look as visceral and rough as possible. And that's my enjoyment of the match is these are two lads who are considered two of the best wrestlers ever, and they're wrestling because Shawn knows he's better than Kurt, but Kurt wants to prove to Shawn that he's the better man, and the two lads are punching the heads off each other. If I can have one more match that I really enjoy and could sit down and watch endlessly, that if you'd asked me to watch pre-COVID, there was no way I was going to watch it. It just wasn't my type of wrestling. It's The Rock and Hulk Hogan from WrestleMania 18. Yeah, it's one of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen for like the pageantry and all the stuff, especially like the way I like to think it. Maybe I put my own spin on it in my head, but when Rock hits the rock bottom, Hogan kicks out and he starts hulking up, and the fans are coming up. In my head, like you can see, this is like a very male-heavy audience, and they all come up and they're shouting, and it's because these lads would have watched Hogan when they were kids, and now they're adults, and they're at WrestleMania, and their idol is hulking up and doing the point and the finger wag and the punch, the kick, the leg drop, and it's just amazing. And my dad isn't a wrestling fan. He never watched wrestling growing up. has no real interest in it. But I was watching that match about a year ago, and he sat down in the room and he was watching it, and he didn't say a word. And when that happened, he went, "That was amazing." So that to me was like, that's wrestling. That like he wouldn't have cared if I put on this kind of fast-paced style wrestling match. That's a kind of a more of a guilty pleasure for me. But a real testament to how good the match is that someone who doesn't watch wrestling couldn't really care other than the fact that I wrestled, sat down and went, "That was really fucking good."
So he wouldn't be a fan of WWE Speed, no?
I think he would just not get it. He would be like watching something in a different language.
The one thing I actually love that some people take from this match, and the greatest example of it was, do you know how they did the kind of turn? Like
Yeah.
Rock was the face. The best example I saw of that actually was this weekend with LJ and Steers. Both were faces,
Oh, yeah.
and then LJ just knew these lads are going for Steers. Fuck it, completely turned and just I love that type of wrestling when that happens. Every
Yeah.
time it happens, I actually think back to that match with just the quick turn of the guys.
100%.
I only have a few more questions left, and then I'll let you go. One being, I know you talked about one bit of advice you got earlier on. OTT has had a load of people come in over the last year and a half since we last spoke to you. I know the last time we had you on, you actually spoke about when last week coming over, and I think it was Jordan Devlin you were talking about as well. Is there ever a time any of those guys have kind of stopped and given you guys advice like, look, this is how you can kind of get to that next step. This is what I think you guys should be doing?
That's a very good question. I don't know if I've had it in OTT, not that I can think of. There's two very good examples where I've had it. One was in Belgium and one was in France. The time in Belgium was I done a seminar with Callisto. And to me, like I can remember vividly, and I told the story at the time to like some other wrestlers. The Raw after Mania for WrestleMania 31, Callisto debuted with Sin Cara as the Lucha Dragons, and they tagged with, I want to say, primetime players, and they wrestled the New Day and the Ascension. No, they tagged with the New Day against the Ascension and Cesaro and Tyson Kidd. And that was the first time I'd ever seen Kalisto wrestle. So this would have been before I found out what PWG was. So I'd never seen Samurai del Sol. And this was a time where I wasn't watching NXT religiously yet because I don't think Finn Balor became the NXT champion until like May time. That's when I would have really started getting in. I was watching a little bit of like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, but I hadn't really seen anything else. And he came onto the main roster and he did specifically, he jumped and Cesaro caught him on his chest and he backflipped off Cesaro's chest, done two head scissors, and then done like a double head nip up, and the fans came up. And I'd never seen that before. And I remember I must have rewatched it 100 times. I was completely sold in this wrestler. I was like, this is like just out of nowhere. This is during the time where Rey Mysterio was kind of slowing down a bit with injuries. He was like a younger, faster Rey Mysterio just all of a sudden appeared, and I was like, what the fuck? Where did this guy come from? So I vividly remember like how ecstatic I was watching that match. And the match itself like isn't really anything important, but like to me it's a big deal. So when I got to train with him, it was cool. But then not only that, he's such a nice guy that without me asking, because it's almost a wasted opportunity. I hear wrestlers say it all the time that like younger wrestlers should ask kind of older ones on the show for advice. I never felt the need to go to him because I was so nervous because he had such a big deal in my head. And I came back from the match and he pulled me aside and he watched my whole match. And he had nothing but positive things to say back to me and give me positive reinforcement. And that meant the world to me. So, like, just telling me stuff like, this was great. I like that you have the crown. You should try to use the crown this way and give me all these ideas. It's like, that's such a nice thing to hear from someone that means so much to me from watching him when I was like a young teenager, you know? And the other time was in France. I'd done a seminar with Trey Miguel from the Rascals. Yeah. And for that seminar, I went over and spent a week there just doing seminars with a guy from CMLL named Nitro, who does like a week of seminars every year. And then that was on the Saturday. And I remember by the Saturday, I was exhausted from doing like 5 days of wrestling training, like 6 hours a day. I don't think I'm able. And I ended up going to the seminar, and me and Corey Zero were the only people there who were kind of experienced. The rest of the seminar were just lads who were beginners, because that day in France there was like a manga con on, which was run by a company called Catch. They do wrestling there, so everyone went to that, and there was another show on somewhere else. I think WXW had a show on, so a lot of the French lads were there too, and Germany. So there was no one at the seminar except like 12 beginners, and us two are very experienced. And Omari was there, and me and Omari work extremely well together. So basically everything we were doing at the seminar, me and Omari wrestled for the whole time, and he was kind of blown away because I at this point only wrestled for about a year and a half, like from when I started training to when I was on shows, maybe a little bit longer, but he was completely blown away that like I was at the level I was at. Which that's not me trying to fucking toot my own horn or anything like that. This is just the kind of experience he gave off. So he added me on Instagram, and since then I've talked to him a few times. But he was very kind, and again, someone that like I think is a pretty big deal in wrestling because of the style I wrestle. Seeing other people at such high levels doing a similar style kind of means a lot to me that I can get there with that style. So for him to kind of slow me down and give me feedback and take time to talk to me after and during it, that meant a lot to me too. You know, so these are just kind of things that stick with you.
100%. And brilliant. The Calista one now was fucking. That was really fucking cool. Just the fact they took the moment to just be like, look, that was fucking amazing. Here's some advice.
Yeah, like, and the thing was like, there's very much a presence in wrestling, and I think everyone experiences where sometimes you get advice from people that you didn't essentially ask for it from, and it happens in all aspects of life with stuff that you do creatively. I'm sure you've had it with podcasting where you have these ideas and people you never ask for advice for come and kind of give you advice you might feel is wrong. But these are both very good experiences of, I feel like they took the time to show they cared and gave me the right advice. And then I've done the TNA gut check trial.
That's right.
After that. And Trey Miguel was at that as well. And he took the time after to come straight to me and say, you've done really good today. I'm not sure what they do in the base to pick people in these things, but you've done really well. Congratulations. So something like that as well means a lot to me too, that he is someone that I was like, maybe doesn't remember me because I've done a seminar with him in France 6 months ago. But he knew me immediately and came over to speak to me, and that meant a lot to me too, you know? So it's a very cool experience, especially seeing him do NXT and stuff now. It's very nice to see, you know. I think he's a guy who definitely deserves how kind he is.
We'll have to talk about that now because I completely forgot that even happened last year. The TNA gut check. Because obviously, like, y'all had a bit of the laugh seeing you guys on the promo, like, oh my God, that's the lads we know. There's Noonan, there's CJ and stuff. What was that experience like?
Very eye-opening. It was good to kind of get in front of people who are signed, you know, and get that experience. I think it's very much played up towards the cameras. But in general, like, just a good experience to kind of go over and have the experience and learn from, you know. Especially when I got there and like wasn't sure who was going to go from Ireland, and literally having like 20 or 25 lads all from Ireland who are very urged to push each other and we're all urged to make each other get better. That's pretty cool too, you know. So I thought that was good.
Now, one other thing I want to talk about before I head on to my final question. I'm sitting here with not a TV star, but a TV person here. A couple of weeks ago, Ireland AM.
Yeah, I fucked up my one spot on TV. Great for me.
You had a couple of kind of moments on Ireland AM there. One was kind of a training match. I think it was you, Andrea. God, who else was in the ring? Was it?
Ilya was in my ring. Landlord, Stanley Turnpike. I say Ilya Zarkov, and then one of our other trainees, Katie, who's getting quite good as well.
What was that kind of experience like? Because I remember being on the way to work, and I had it just on the phone beside me because I was like, oh, the lads are gonna be on. I'm fucking seeing that, and to see yourself and Andrea pop up, I was like, that's my fucking boys.
Like, it's actually strange. Is like a few weeks leading up to this, I won't drop names, but a guy who will be on TV in the near future had said to me that like he was getting asked the whole time, like when he was doing something for TV, like, oh, it's okay if you feel nervous and stuff being in front of the cameras. We get it all the time. It's okay. And then he kept saying, no, I'm in front of the cameras all the time. I'm not nervous at all. And in my head, I was thinking like he's in front of the cameras a lot more than me. But to me, I'd say I'd be quite intimidated having to speak on TV. And even though I only said like 5 words, when it's live as well, it should be intimidating. But I think maybe from having the experience of wrestling and then also being in my training, so somewhere I feel extremely comfortable being, it was no nerves. It was just very nice vibes. The only thing I'm annoyed about is me and Andrea were told, like, you guys rest in the background. So me and Andrea are resting. I got to lift him on my shoulders, and then I just lose my grip and can't get him on my shoulder. And that's my only, like, one of my only things on TV and me doing. I was like, that's fairly annoying, but that's a perfect example of how not everything goes right in wrestling, you know. But a very cool experience. The guy, I can't think of his name for the life of me now, unfortunately, which sounds quite bad. But the host is really sound and was very respectful towards wrestling and the wrestlers and gave us all the time of day and was willing to learn and try to understand what we do and talks about it, which is cool, you know.
Yeah.
And taking bumps as well, like a fucking G. So I have to give him props for that too, you know.
No, 100%. Because I was even when he started doing the bumps and stuff, I was watching it like at work. I thought fair fucks to him because he's doing stuff that even I wouldn't exactly want to do.
Yeah.
And over like you've seen all the old interviews from years ago with TV presenters. Even there's still TV presenters nowadays that's just they shit on it. They're just like, you know,
that feels fucking fake.
Yeah, sure, it's fake, isn't it? You know, I remember it was Austin Theory or Grayson Waller had that.
I've seen that recently.
Yeah, had that experience as well. He was not like that at all. You know, he was just seemed up for everything. He took the splashes. He took a fucking slam. I can't remember who did the slam to him.
Yeah, Katie, that's one of our trainees. Yeah.
She did the fucking. I was like, fair fucks, he took a fucking slam. I wouldn't fucking do that at all. So, but just even to see you guys not only getting to promote OTT, on Irish television, but just to, I don't know. Obviously, watching yourself and the rest of the lads go from training, newbies to where you are now, and then you're on fucking TV was just the coolest thing to me.
Well, it's mad as well. Like, I had to leave to go do something by a certain time. So like, time was counting down. And I thought we were going to be there like an hour, and it got to like 2.5, and I was like, I need to leave now. But right before I was supposed to leave, the presenter was like, "Here hasn't spoken." Or who doesn't speak. And in my head, I was like, he's probably just asking this so he can remember who's supposed to speak. So me and Andrea put our hands up and he goes, "All right, you guys come over, I'm going to interview you." I was like, okay. That's it. And I remember like shooting a text to my family group chat quickly and going, "I'm on TV in 5 minutes. Like, this is mad." And what happened was his camera person has like I don't know how production works. So I'm a complete novice trying to tell this, but like he has a bag which connects the camera directly to the studio as well as the microphone connected to the studio and stuff like this. I'm not sure what's in the bag, whether it's a fucking pure. I have no idea how it works. But there was an error with it that they couldn't hear your man on the mic. So they were testing it again and again. And your man has an earpiece in where you can listen to the live feed of the broadcast presenter. So I could hear faintly from it that you kept going like, "Oh, it's not working. I keep restarting the system." And it just wasn't working. And he goes, "Oh, sorry, lads, you might be able to do this because we're supposed to be on live in a minute and we can't get it working." And I hear the Ireland AM song come through his earpiece. So in my head, going, "That's crazy." That's like a song that's real nostalgic because I'm still like, I'm only 21.
Waking
so
up
like
for school, the mother has it on
exactly that. Yeah, exactly that I was about to say. So like waking up for school every day, hearing that song while eating me breakfast, stuff like this. So it's fairly fresh in my memory, like from years of it. So I was like, this is really cool. And then he kept going, "It's not going to work. It's not going to work." And then he randomly just started interviewing me and Andrea. We just respond. And then we're like, "Was that the interview?" And he goes, "Oh, no, I'm just testing." And then he goes, "Right, hold on a second." And he goes, "Right, 3, 2, 1, just goes." And then we're like, and we're just on TV. Well, I feel like we both handled it very well, but like, he kept saying, "It's not going to happen. You missed our cue. Fuck, it's not going to happen." And someone must have been telling him in the earpiece, "Oh, we're still going to put it here. We're still going to put it here, whatever." He kept going, like, "Oh, we fucking missed it. His camera's fucking broke." And then eventually the camera worked. And then they were like, "Right, you're going ahead in like a minute and a half, whatever." And he was just like prepping himself, but he didn't really fill us in that much. So we were kind of thrown at it, but it was pretty cool because we assumed it wasn't going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
But that was pretty cool. That's something I won't forget, though, is that hearing the Ireland AM thing was pretty cool. Like, I faintly hear from his earpiece, but going like, he goes, "Oh, we're back live now." And I was like, holy shit, like, this is Ireland AM. It's pretty fucking mad that, like, I'm on the other end of this now.
That was literally the first time I've ever watched Ireland AM since being in secondary school. Like I'd no reason to be watching it other than like being in secondary school, like whatever, 8 years ago, and fucking eating the breakfast, mother has it on, work away. So even like when you said it there, I was like, "Oh, just listen." I was like, "Yeah, I know exactly what you're gonna say." You're sitting at home, takes you back. You're fucking getting ready to head off to fucking your junior cert or whatever.
So mad. It's so mad.
What was the general reaction at home? Be like, "Oh, but shit, he's on fucking TV."
you know what? Like, this is really weird. I can't remember that day what I had to do after. When I went to my shoot job that day, and I went and done something immediately after uh, a Friday morning. So I wasn't training or something, but I had to go somewhere after work. I didn't come straight home, so I was out of the house from like I left my house at 6:30 that morning to go to the wrestling school, and then I went from there to my shoot job, and then went from somewhere after that. So I don't think I got home until like quite late. And when I got in, actually, I went to my girlfriend. So that's where I went the next day, and I came home the next day then, and they were like, "How was the teddy?" And it was like I'd forgotten because I had done so much. And I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, I was on RNAM yesterday." It was more the funniest experience happened, but they thought it was cool, like, and they had it recorded and they watched it together. But what was mad to me was I got a text in my group chat, a group chat with all my mates from outside wrestling, and one of them just put in, "I'm fucking working out," and I turned my head to see this cunt on the telly, and they had RNA playing in the gym. You had no idea you're supposed to be on. I never put in the group chat until like 5 minutes before we got on air. It said RNA this morning. I didn't say anything else. And he was in the gym and turned his head. And I was on the telly talking, and he goes, "That is ridiculous. So what the hell?" So there's a photo of it somewhere in one of my group chats of him on like a treadmill and looking at me up on the telly. I was like, "That is pretty cool, though."
It was fucking class to see as you know someone who has watched you rise. I'm gonna end this the way we ended
Yeah.
it last year. Last year we asked you for 5 wrestlers that you wanted to fight in 2024. You fought 4 of them. Now 2 you fought just pretty early.
Rummy shooty lads, that's mad.
So number 1, much like it was earlier on, was Leon Slater. 2 was Fabio, who I believe you wrestled. 3 was Steers. I think they were literally right after each other. 4 was Sammy D. You've done it twice now. And 5, you wanted to fight him for every reason you said, but mostly because you've never been in an actual proper match other than a tag match, was LJ Cleary.
Damn, man.
4 out of
Insane.
5 is fucking good. So from now until whenever we talk to you again, hopefully not 2 years from now, 5 wrestlers who you haven't fought that you would want to face.
I'm gonna try to keep this right to like Irish Circle kind of, because I feel like I'm quite happy with the fact that I managed to reach 4 of them. But if I picked 5 like big imports, I might get 1 in the next year if you get me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put Leon Slater as number 1 because I still really think it's so close to happening. I feel like I've been really close to it. It's just a matter of time until it actually happens now. Maybe I haven't been, but in my eyes, I feel like I'm getting there. So he's number 1 on the list. When it comes to Ireland in general, this is something I've discussed over the last year. I basically ticked all the boxes for everyone who wants to wrestle in Ireland. There's very, very few left that haven't wrestled in some capacity. So on the list, I'm going to put number 2 as Maxer. I've never wrestled Maxer, never been in the ring the same time as Maxer. He's pound for pound one of the greatest wrestlers to ever come out of Ireland. I think it'd be quite hard to argue against it, you know. So he'd be number 2 on the list. That's a tough one. Right, give me a second to think of someone else. I'll try amongst. I said him earlier as well, and again, I feel like it was another one that was really close to happening until he got injured. But Leighton Buzzard, I think, still up there. Like, I feel like if he's back in the next 6 months, it could happen when he's back in Ireland. I don't know where, but I actually had forgotten he had wrestled in Hard Knocks. He defended the ICW Championship in Hard Knocks. Yeah, so that's something I only realised recently. So I feel like it could even happen there, which opens more doors, you know. So he'd be up there as well. Because again, we spoke from earlier, and I feel like it could happen. Mecca, number 4.
Yes. He's
Yeah,
a big,
that'll be a
scary
good
dude,
one.
but he's a fucking brilliant dude.
Yeah, he's my tribal chief. If you end up seeing this, he's my tribal chief. Yeah, he's my tribal chief. Number 4. 3 or 4. That's 4 or 3.
You have we have
Leighton Buzzard,
Leon Slater, Leighton Buzzard,
Maxer, Mecca.
So you've one more.
All right, got one more. I can't mess this up then. I want to pick. I have a load in mind, but they're all half active in Ireland. I feel at the moment. There's no one that's like here on a regular basis that I feel like I haven't wrestled that I'm really itching to. Maybe that sounds egotistical in a way. Kind of cheating, but I feel like probably should just put them on the list because we haven't technically wrestled a lot. Like probably had a 10-second account on a tag match as well as in the Rumble. Boots Murphy as well. I'd say because I feel like we were both really wanting to wrestle each other in some form. I feel like it's come close, but it hasn't quite succeeded. But it's doable. I think he'll be back sooner rather than later from the ankle injury. But only time will tell, obviously. But I think that's one that could happen very soon.
As well, only time will tell what type of big boost Murphy would get because he didn't seem like a very happy cowboy leaving that ring that night after Terry Thatcher. I'm going to throw one more thing your way because it's going to happen before we speak to you next. From now to when we actually talk to you, which belt on this island will you have won?
Right. If that's all about right, what's achievable? I like to be realistic a lot of times about my wrestling because there's no point me going like, oh fuck me, I'm gonna be OTT World Champion in a year. I can't see it happening. I don't see the direct line to it. It's going to happen, but I'm gonna need like 5 years to get there. I think what's doable currently is the Hard Knox All Ireland Championship. I'm not going to call it the All Italian Championship because that's not what it is.
That's not a fucking thing.
It's not a thing. So I'm going to call it the All Ireland Championship. I've been practicing my Italian. You want me to spit some stuff at Renzo?
Go for it.
La puttana sto orso da stamanto pregiato.
Yeah, what he said, Renzo. What he said.
Damn right. The other belt championship, I feel is within reach as well. Is the OTCGN championship, but again, I don't think it's something that's going to happen overnight. It could be a year and a half away. It could be 2 years away. Hopefully, it's not that long before we talk again. But I feel like on an OTT level, that's kind of something that's somewhat achievable. There's nowhere else I really wrestle regularly other than NLW, and that's another place for maybe the Cruiserweight Championship. I feel like that's the only Cruiserweight Championship on the Ireland. The Fight Factory obviously have the Junior Heavyweight Championship, but that's still treated as their top prize for their World or their Heavyweight Championship, in my opinion. I'm very much obviously a huge fan of the Cruiserweight style of wrestling. I'm a giant fan of Jushin Thunder Liger and younger Benoit and stuff like this. So I think that's definitely a championship I'd love to go towards. And I've had the opportunity to wrestle for it in the inaugural championship match, which is pretty cool. But I feel like that's not too far out of reach either. And again, maybe another year or so, I might be a bit closer. But right now, I feel like these are all within reach, but it's not going to happen overnight.
100%. As we said last time, and I'm a big believer in it, it's all small goals to get to a bigger picture.
100%.
So, look, it was lovely catching up with you again. I'm telling you now, you will have the All-Ireland Championship and the GN title in that time. I am so confident in it. I truly believe the GN title picture can be done as a workhorse belt again. Put Santos, Boots. When he goes into a singles run, you can throw in Josh inside there as well. Even the NLW title is something that, could be within reach. But only time will tell. I can't wait to see where you go from here because already a year and a half since we last spoke to you, you've done so much.
Thank you.
So thank you, as always, for coming on. And I said this to Boots and stuff like that. Yourself, Boots, Terry, all the guys who came on when we were literally nobody knew a thing about us. You came on and you helped build what we have today. So we appreciate you as always.
Thank you. And I said it to you earlier, but I'm not from letting people here now. I feel like your platform has allowed me to really come out of my shell in both here and also again to speak to you guys after Hard Knox on camera. So I strongly feel like you've helped me in ways too that like I can't pay you back enough for. So I'm always happy to come sit down with yourselves,
Look, we'll try and not leave it a year and a half next time because well, we'll have to see what happens in that time. When's that heel turn, by the way? I'm still waiting for it.
Oh. No, I'm happy. I'm happy, which is good. I'm happy with everybody.
Well, is there any socials that you want to plug? Where can everybody find you? Is there anything that you want to plug real quick, especially shows coming up?
So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, X or Twitter as it's known now, under Noonan Wrestling. I think that's all my socials. I could be wrong, but if I'm missing one, I'm most active on my Instagram, and then next will be on Twitter. TikTok is still a work in progress. But you can see me coming up now this weekend on the 7th and 8th. If I'm wrong with those dates, it's the Saturday and Sunday of that weekend for Comic Con Northern Ireland. The following weekend, I think there's stuff unconfirmed. We'll find out. But if you see me pop up on the 14th somewhere, that'd be very good. The following weekend is the 21st then, which I am wrestling in FWF in Belgium for the Flemish Championship against Homeless Tom. And then the following weekend, the 28th, I'm wrestling in Banger Zone Wrestling on the Saturday against Von Vertigo and Ricky Sosa in a three-way. And then the following day is OTT Sheriff Street, where I'm not sure what I'm doing yet, but you'll see me there. It's a busy month.
I'll tell you, this man is busy. This has been planned for I don't know how long, a month, 2 months. So he is a busy man. He's going all over the place, and look, we can't wait to see what you do in the future. So, Cian, as always, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
This is going to feel so weird now because I never do the outro. Find us all on FiveMarks Pod next and TikTok, FiveMarks Podcast, everywhere else. And with that being said, I'm going to put the sign up so Carbo's here in some form or another.
Good spirit.
We are ding ding done. Yeah, ding ding done.